Okay, so this is Test J Game 3. I've written down some of the rules already. Can you all see that? You're good? Okay. So we have this 7-week long voyage, right? So I have my 7 slots here, which represent the 7 weeks. Each voyage will occur in exactly one of the first 7 weeks of the season, okay? Each voyage will be to exactly one of 4 destinations. So we have our 4 destinations. Each destination will be scheduled for at least one of the weeks. Okay, that's a very, very common rule, right? To say that each of our variables is going to appear once in this game. I'm not as concerned about that rule, but what I do want you to be aware of is when that rule doesn't exist. Okay, it doesn't happen very often, which is the problem. So many games say something along the lines of, hey, each of our variables, each of our players, in this case destinations, is going to happen exactly once, or at least once, or exactly twice, or something like that. And so you get so used to it that when the rule doesn't exist, you just assume it. But there are some games where you can have variables and none of the variables, at least one of the variables isn't used. You could have a situation where it's just not even used, yet you're assuming that it has to be put in there because they mentioned it. The only reason all 4 destinations have to be visited is because of this rule right here. Each destination will be scheduled for at least one of the weeks. Okay, now we have the remaining rules. This is kind of a formatting glitch of the LSAT. We just read a bunch of rules, and now we're going to read a bunch more rules. There's no difference between these rules, but for some reason they like to give us these rules in a list and the other rules in a paragraph. There is no difference. So if you ever find yourself struggling with a question and you keep going back to the rules, well, you may need to go back to the paragraph because the paragraph has rules as well. In any case, J will not be its destination in week 4, so I'm crossing out J below week 4. T will be its destination in week 7. This next rule I didn't draw just because I want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Freedom will make exactly 2 voyages to M. So that's kind of significant. At this point, I know that some of these variables have to go more than once because we only have 4 destinations, but we have 7 weeks, right? Now they're telling us a little bit more about that. This guy goes exactly twice. So we're going to see M twice and only twice. And at least one voyage to G will occur in some week between those 2 voyages. Okay, so what that essentially means is we're going to have M, G, M. Okay, those dashes just mean that there could be things that come in between M and G, right? Jad, you have a question?
I'm sorry, that was my cat.
Oh, okay, your cat has a question. I'm ready. No, that's cool. Okay, so anyways, MGM could be next to each other, right? It could be a block of 3, but these dashes tell me, okay, not necessarily. Maybe M is stretched out to here, the other M is here, and G just comes somewhere in between. I have no idea. It's a whole range of possibilities. Ada.
Yeah, I have a question. So is it the rule saying here that we have to fill all of the weeks? How do I know that I have to fill all of the weeks? Maybe
yeah, you're saying,
no voyage.
Why not skip some weeks, right? It's
Exactly.
expensive. Well, it does say, this is the second sentence, I think. It says, each voyage will occur in exactly one of the first 7 weeks.
Because doesn't mean that all of the weeks have to have a voyage. I mean, I'm a native speaker of English, and sometimes I'm having some difficulty.
Yeah, even the first line, right? Yeah. A cruise line is scheduling 7-week-long voyages. So if you're scheduling 7 voyages.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, okay. 7. Then you have to assume somehow.
Yep.
Assumption, but LSAT doesn't like assumptions. I don't know.
No, they don't. They don't like all assumptions. Some assumptions are good, but yeah, generally speaking, the games are going to be pretty literal and contractual, and so yeah, We should find a sentence in there somewhere saying that. But if it's not, yeah, then you're right. It could be empty.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so we got the MGM. Those are our two M's, by the way, so I don't need to worry about M anymore. All right, so this is a small thing, but I do find it helpful. I'm going to cross this out. I don't need to worry about M anymore, right? I have M right here. I'm not going to cross out G and T, even though they're in my diagram, because I could have another G, I could have another T, right? So I'm not done with those folks, but I am done with M, okay? Alrighty, next rule. G will be its destination in the week preceding any voyage it makes to J. All right, this is a very commonly confused rule, but let's try to think about it intuitively for a second. G is going to be the destination, right, in the week before any voyage it makes to J. So anytime it goes to J, it's got to have G before it. The way I'm going to write this is I'm going to write it like this. Anytime I have J, I have to have G before it. This arrow is sort of like an if-then statement. It's basically if I have J, then I have to have G. Okay, this is not the same as drawing this though. This would mean that G and J are this block, that they have to be together. No, you could have G by itself, but if you have J, then you have to have G. Does anyone have any questions about that? Because it's kind of a confusing rule.
Hey Ben, I'm sorry. I don't know how to raise my hand on here. But yeah, for that rule over there, I just assumed that it was like one time. So anytime we see Jamaica, G has to come before Jamaica.
That's right. Anytime the J happens, G has to come before it. So if we have two J's, we know we're going to have at least two G's because a G's got to come before each one of those.
And because it said any, right?
That's the key word. You got it exactly right.
Okay.
Anytime J happens, G happens. That's not the same, though, as saying anytime G happens, J happens. That's a different rule, right? So.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So I was reading too fast. Thank you.
That's common. But the key word here is any. Here's an example outside of this context. Anytime I get hit by a bus, I get angry. So what that means is if I get hit by a bus, I'm going to get mad. That does not mean, though, that anytime I get mad, I got hit by a bus. I could get mad for other reasons. Try not to. I try to avoid that. But sometimes, you just got to get mad and tell people what's going wrong. Anyways, okay. Last rule says no destination will be scheduled for consecutive weeks. Okay, so I'm using X as a generic variable here. Basically, nobody can go together twice, right? So I can't have T here. This rule is fine because M is never going to be next to each other. But anyways, just something to keep in mind in the background. All right, couple things here. This rule happens enough in the games that I know to look for this, but I suspect maybe some of you saw it, maybe some of you didn't. But where can J not go if G has to come before J? Stephanie.
Can I go first?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Can't go first, right? Because if J goes first, then G would have to come before it, but there is no week before it because these are the first 7 weeks of the season, right? So, little inference here, J can't go first. Sorry, this is getting a little crowded. I probably should make more room here. But also, we know that T can't go 6. Are you guys cool with that? Okay. Camilla, you have a question.
Oh, I was just gonna say sorry, let me turn my camera on. Sorry guys, I'm at work. You got the little privacy thing on the, anyways. I made that very silly mistake for number 11. As soon as they corrected me, I was like, oh, holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
I put Jamaica first.
Yeah.
And that's not possible. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, good. I'm glad you see it now. That's great. This will happen probably on other games that you do. Will that happen in the future? I don't know. But it's something to be aware of. Okay, cool. Now, I saw that in the poll, 50% of you did worlds, 33% of you did not, and 17% of you said unsure. You're probably like, what the heck is worlds? Worlds is simply focusing in on a variable or a rule, and saying, hey, how many places can this rule apply, or how many places can this variable go? And then creating one world for each of those places. So for example, in this game, this is a block, right? It's not our traditional block, but it still is a block in the sense that if you have J, then you have to have G, right? And so blocks tend to be a great place to create worlds because they take up 2 slots, right? So how many slots can J go in? Danielle.
I think J can go in 1, 2, and 4 slots.
Yeah, you're right. Which 4?
2, 3, 5, and 6.
2, 3, 5, and 6. Yeah, because the rule said, hey, J can't go in 4. We figured out J can't go in 1. Obviously, J can't go in 7 because T is already there. So there's only 4 places for J to go. And if we know where J goes, we also then immediately know where G goes, right? For those of you who created worlds, did you create 4 worlds on the basis of J or something else? We don't really have a poll for that, but maybe in the chat you can say what you created worlds on the basis of. Okay, Hannah, yes, based on the J, and then ultimately the JG block. Okay, some of you, it looks like you created worlds on the basis of M. That's interesting. So M, right, let's see here. This MGM, if we start on this side, this M could go here, 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 or here. So you could create 4 worlds on the basis of the first M, or maybe 4 worlds on the basis of the last M. The point is you grab a variable and you put it into slots, the only slots it can go into, and then see what can happen, okay? All right, let's just take a look here. I'm going to go ahead and create, J stuck out to me because of the block. If it's all right, I'm going to go ahead and do worlds on the basis of J. And so it looks like this, right? I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I'm going to use the top and bottom of these diagrams. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 worlds. Hey, you guys okay with that? In all these worlds, T is last. You guys okay with that? Raise your hand if you're like lost. But these are my 4 worlds. I'm going to put J in 2, J in 3. I can't put J in 4. I can put J in 5, and I can put J in 6. Okay, those are the only 4 possibilities for J, so I can create 4 worlds on the basis of J. Okay, Destiny.
I have a question. So I made worlds, but not on the basis of J because from reading the stimulus, I couldn't determine how many of J there were. So what clued you guys in to use J? Because I was thinking, well, J could go twice.
You're absolutely right. J could go twice. So unfortunately, I'm not going to get rid of J by doing this. All I'm going to do is, I do know that J has to go at least once. So in every diagram that I create, I'm going to have J somewhere, and these are the only 4 places that J can go.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, now because, Divya, am I saying that right?
Divya, sorry, there's
Yeah.
like background noise. So when you're creating worlds, do you generally just choose like the most limited letter, or like if you have a block? Is
Yes.
that what you base it off of?
Yeah, so blocks are great things to create worlds on the basis of. This is a chain. If it were a block of 3, like if MGM were smushed together, it would be great, right? Because it'd be 3 variables. But because they're loose, knowing that M goes here doesn't immediately tell me where G and M go. So it's not something that's super satisfying in terms of creating worlds. Certainly can. There's only 4 slots that the first M can go in. But Yeah, it's just a little trickier because, okay, what do I do with the G? What do I do with the other M? Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool. Martha.
Hi. My difficulty is knowing how when to create worlds, because sometimes I feel I've come to just my own rule, but of course I'm asking you because I will amend it to whatever you tell me. I feel like whenever I have opportunity to do more than 4 worlds, I just waste too much time. So I like to keep, in this case I will keep it at 4 worlds because it works. But did you recommend to doing more than 4 worlds if the problem allows for it?
Yeah, I would. Now, you have, as the number of worlds increases, the likelihood that you're going to pursue it does go down. But generally speaking, people are more hesitant to create worlds than they should be. That said, you're going to create worlds when you realize, I shouldn't have, and you're going to learn. What you're really learning is you're learning the ability to anticipate what's likely to happen because of that initial inference. You're getting better at seeing the consequences of putting a variable into a certain slot without drawing it. And the better you get at that, the better you're going to get at, knowing when worlds is going to be valuable and when it's not. And even after you've done this for a super long time, sometimes you create worlds, and as you create them, you're like, okay, great, and then they don't really go anywhere, and then you just abandon them. But that's because you're going to get faster at just not hesitating. I coach my son's baseball team, and a lot of times the runner will try to steal from first to second. Okay, you guys imagine that scenario. So the pitcher throws the pitch, it goes to the catcher, and as soon as the runner is trying to run to second, sometimes the catcher will jump up and then try to decide whether or not to throw the ball to second and get that runner out at second. Okay, cool? You guys cool with this so far? A lot of times it doesn't happen though because the catcher jumps up and then hesitates. The catcher's like, should I do it or not do it? And then by the time they throw it, it's too late. The runner's already gonna make it, and it's no use. And so a lot of times I'm yelling like, don't hesitate, just go. Like if you're feeling like you can make it, just immediately make that decision and go. The same, you're like, what the heck? Is this baseball or is this games? But the same thing can happen with worlds. When you see an opportunity, you're like, wait a sec, here's a block. It can only go in 4 slots. Don't get over analytical about it. Just do it. Just create it. Because it's not going to create that long to create these worlds. And if they turn out to be ineffective, you will learn that faster having tried to create them than thinking about it too much, right? And you're going to get faster and faster at creating these. Okay, so anyways.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yep. What I would do here is I would have these 2 lines. That's not going to take super long. Then I'm going to do J, 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 J. Those are my only 4 options for J. That, of course, means that G has to go here, G here, G here, and G here. Are you guys cool with that so far? Okay? All right. What do we know now? Well, in this top world, right? So I haven't totally gotten rid of this rule, but this is still a big rule. MGM, I've got to fit that in here into these 4 slots. Sound good? But I don't know which slots they go into, so I'm just going to write MGM. Notice they're floating above there. There's a lot of possibilities. Another J could come in there as long as it came in before G. Another T could come in there, really anywhere, stuff like that. Are you guys okay with that? Okay, now let's go to the second world here. Oh boy, there's a couple options. If M goes here, then it's going to be MGM. But if M comes here, I have a lot of options right there. Same thing down here. And this right here, this is going to be MGM. Okay. I could split these 2 worlds on the basis of wherever that first M goes. That would actually be helpful. So I'm focusing in on this first M. That first M could come here, or it could come here. Are you guys okay with that? So this is me trying to squeeze this stuff into two things. But what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Trying to save space here. And basically I have this GJT, okay? GJT. Now, it could be GJT. Either the first M is here or the first M is here. So if the first M goes here, fine. If the first M goes here, then it's MGM, T. This world is almost done. I know J can't go here. I know G can't go here. So an M is done, so it's got to be T. You guys cool with that? Yell at me if that doesn't make sense. This world is still a little fluid. It's got an M somewhere, but I don't really know where that goes. I have the same thing down here. So I'm just going to split this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have GJ, T, GJ, T. I'm essentially taking this world right here and I'm splitting it into two worlds. Again, either the last M can go here or the last M can go here and fill up these spots. Those are the only two places that the last M can go. So if I do M here and M here, this one is easier to fill out because it becomes, oh wait, actually, oh yeah, no, this is exactly right. MGM, right? In this case, I have to put an M over here somewhere, but I don't know where. So I'm just going to put M floating over here. These worlds are okay. They're a little unsatisfying because this thing has some flexibility. This has flexibility. This is starting to fill in, but what could this be? This can't be T. It can't be J. Could it be G? Could G go here? I think it could. And M can't go there. Oh, actually, so that's the only thing that's left. So this is going to be G. Well, these worlds are decently full. I don't love all the flexibility here, but I'm just going to fill them out as quickly as I can and then jump into the questions. Okay? Questions about these worlds. I know it can get a little confusing when you start subdividing worlds themselves, and that's what I did with these two middle ones. But yeah, that's my worlds. And you can actually fill these out pretty quick. Jermaine.
Yeah, so the third world that has G in the 4th spot, I was kind of experimenting with it and just seeing it. Is that world M could go, where could the M go? Like where could all the M's go in that situation?
Well, so it's easier if you focus in on one of the M's. So what I focused in on was the second M, right? And if the second M could come here, right? I could have MGM. That's the earliest that the second M could come. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and then the only other option for the second M is to come over here. So that's how I ended up splitting that into two worlds, because M2, the second M, can only go in two places.
And if you had MGM and then that M be in the 3rd spot, so M in the 1st and M in the 3rd, then for the 6th option, you would have to have G.
Yes.
Correct?
That's exactly right. Yep. So basically, this world, it turned into these two worlds, right?
Oh.
And this world turned into these two. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. Jad.
These signs just answered my question. I was just wondering which worlds were divided.
Yes, I'm so sorry. You know, the reality is, when you're doing this on a piece of paper, I probably would have just created 4 slots, and I should have just done that here. I don't know what I'm thinking here. I was trying to be conservative with my space because of the whiteboard, but if I created 4 like rows, right, just keep going down, then these could have nicely just fit in there, and then I just have a bunch of stuff right underneath each other, and I wouldn't have had to reproduce this one. I could have just split it into 2 by itself. Anyways, small thing, but paper can sometimes be a little bit better than a whiteboard. All right, so let's jump into the questions. I'm going to start with question 11. This one, let's see, is it our traditional question? Yes. Which one of the following is an acceptable schedule of destinations for freedom in order from 1 to 7? Okay, this is a process of elimination question, or you can answer it however you want, but I tend to find that to be a little bit easier. So the first rule said J can't be fourth. I'm just going to scan down these answers and eliminate any in which J is fourth, right? Because this question is asking us for 5, it's giving us 5 scenarios and asking us which one would work. So if anyone violates this first rule, then it's not going to work, okay? So is J ever fourth? It looks like it is in D. If you can beat me to it, you're always welcome to do so. But it looks like D has J in 4, which is not good, right? So D is out. Sound good? Okay, the next rule says T is in 7. Okay, is T ever not in 7? If T is ever not in 7, yeah, that's E. Okay. Okay, so far that's 2 points for me. If you guys can beat me to it, go for it. The next rule is the MGM rule, right? MGM is okay in A. MGM is not okay in B, right?
Are you asking for the answer?
I'm asking which answer choice is actually eliminated by the rule. So if the rule is MGM, sorry, it's not a fair fight. I didn't even tell you guys what the goal was, but I'm eliminating answer choices as I read these rules, right? So MGM not happening in B. So B is out as well. So far we've eliminated B, D, and E. Okay, the next rule is that G rule. If you have J, then you have to have G before it. That's okay in A. Ooh, that's not good in C, right? Thank you, Tanya. You beat me to that one. So point for you. But C is out. That means the answer has to be A. We didn't even get through all the rules, but that's okay. If we want to double check the last rule, you can't have consecutive weeks, and we don't have consecutive weeks. So A is the answer. Questions about that question? Okay, let's keep going. So the next question is...
Sorry, was the answer C for this one?
For question 11?
Number 11, yeah.
For 11, it was actually A. So we eliminated everything except A. You can also click on the I, and it will show you what the correct answer is.
All right, sorry about it. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So question 12 is not an if question. It doesn't start with if, yada, yada. So I'm actually going to skip this question. Question 11 didn't start with if either, but because it was our traditional first question, I just went ahead and answered it to make sure I understand the rules correctly. But question 12, I'm going to skip. Okay, so I'm going to have to come back to it later. But it's not too hard to come back because you can see in the nav that it hasn't been, no answer has been given, okay? Okay, so question 13. This is an if question, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. If freedom makes a voyage to T in week 5, which one of the following could be true? Okay, T in week 5 doesn't happen here, it doesn't happen here. It only happens in this one and this one. So in these top 2 worlds, T is in 5. Are you guys cool with that? So if T is in 5 in these top 2 worlds, what could be true? Okay, so I'm just going to look at the top 2 worlds because those are the only worlds in which T could be 5. Let's take a look. So just to avoid confusing everyone, I'm going to cross this world out and this world out because these worlds were transformed into these 2 worlds right here. Okay, boy, that's a mess. I hope you guys can forgive me. Okay, so anyways, T in 5, that can only happen here, and that can happen here. Which of the following could be true? Could T be in week 1? No, doesn't happen in either world. M in week 2? No, no. Okay. G in week 3? No. No, because M is going to have to come into week 3 if T is in week 5. Do you guys see that? If T is in week 5, in this world, M is going to have to come into 3. You guys cool with that? Okay. Eric, I just noticed you have a Giants hat on. Is that true? I didn't know you were from the Bay Area.
Yes, but trivia question for you: which Giants?
Oh, now it's looking all funky. I can't tell.
It's the San Jose Giants, the San Francisco Giants single A team.
Oh, got it. Okay, deep. All right, thank you.
650 area code.
Okay, neat. Anyways, G is in week 3. No, that's not going to happen. D. M is in week 4. Could M be in week 4? Well, in this diagram, I have to put an M somewhere, and T, if T is in 5, then M could certainly come into week 4. That's looking like that could be true. Just to double check, E says Jamaica in week 6. No, not if T is in 5. If T is in 5, then I can't put Jamaica in 6 because G would have to go in 5. Sound good? So the answer is D after all. Okay, that's our if question. Question 14. If Frida makes a voyage to G in week 1 and to Jamaica in week 5. Okay, G in week 1, that happens here and that happens here. Ooh, this one already has G in week 1. Boy, okay. And J in week 5. Oh, J is in week 5 right here. And J could be in week 5 here. We could have J, G. Wow, so both of these worlds are still in play, and G is in 1. Okay, which one of the following must be true? Oh, well, what is true about both of these worlds when J is in 5? Of course, T is last, but that's always the case. I'm seeing something right here. M has to be in week 6 in both of them if J is in week 5. M could be in 2 or 3. M could be in 3. So there's some flexibility there. But at least between these two diagrams, M has to go into 6. Do you guys see that? If it's asking you what must be true, then it's going to have to be true in both worlds that are applicable. I'm going to look for M in week 5 or 6. We do have that answer. It's E. So we could check the rest, but I suspect the answer is E. Really quick, A says J is in 2. Doesn't have to be true. We could have M in week 2. T in week 2, again, doesn't have to be true. We could have M in week 2. M in week 3 could be true, doesn't have to be true. It is true up here, but not necessarily true here. And then G in week 6, well, actually, we just saw M is in week 6, so that's out. Okay, questions on this question? I know this is going to be a little challenging. Jermaine.
For the last world, the one where GJT is in succession.
Yep.
Could you do G, MGM, and then GJT, or no?
Oh, yeah, you could actually. So I skipped that world. You could have G, MGM, GJT. Yep, you absolutely could. Wait.
Okay.
No, wait, hold on. Sorry, one sec. What's the thing say? It said G is in week 1. Yes, so that's possible. But what I'm forgetting is J has to be in week 5. So that's why I didn't look at this world, because we need to be able to put J into week 5. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. I glossed over that too. My bad.
Okay, cool. Okay, question 15 is also an if question. So it says, if Frida makes a voyage to G in week 1 and to T in week 2. G in week 1, no, yes, but then what else? T in week 2, no. So the only option here is this world right here. This is the only world in which I can put G in 1 and T in 2. If I put G in 1 and I put T in 2, do you guys see what has to happen in this world without drawing anything? G1, T2.
M has to be in 3.
M has to be in 3. That's absolutely right. Okay, so it's going to be GTM right here, GTM, okay? Which of the following must be true? M is in week 3. Yep, actually that's what you just said. That's got to be the answer. But let's look at the others really quick. Does M have to be in 4? No. Does M have to be in 5? No. Does G have to be in 3? No, M is. Does G have to be in 5? No, J is. So that's the answer. The answer is A. Okay. Yell at me if it doesn't make sense. Let's keep going. 16. If Frida makes a voyage to M in week 3. Okay, no. Oh, here's M in 3. Here's M in 3. Here's M in 3. Here's, lots of worlds where M is 3. Or could be 3. Which of the following could be an accurate list of Freedom's destinations in 4 and 5? Oh, okay, well, what I'm going to do, okay, if M is in 3, I do know that G and J could be in 4 and 5, so that's a possibility. You guys see that? If M is in 3, who could be in 4 and 5? G and J, T and G maybe. Yeah, some comment. So at least J, G, J, and then maybe T, G, or again G, J. Okay, so let's see here. Could GT work? Yeah, it could work here. If I put M here, I could do G, T, M. Sound good? Let's just double check that though, because I'm a little uncertain. How about B? Could we have JG? Well, we can't have JG because if M is in 3, then J going here would force G to go here, right? So that's not going to work. M can't go next to M, so C is out. D, I don't have T here. Could I do M, T, J? No, you can't do TJ because J would require G before it. TM, oh, that's a problem because if I do M, T, M, then I'm going to violate the MGM rule. Sound good? So those other ones are wrong. If you're feeling confident about A, though, you could just pick it. I mean, here is literally an example where M is 3rd and we have GJ. Okay? Or sorry, oh, not GJ. I'd have to go up here. So M and then GT. But that would work in that world. Okay, so the answer is A. Question 17. Which one? Oh, this is our which question. That's fine because there's no more questions. So I'm going to go ahead and do question 17, and then I'm going to go back and do question 12. That's the one we skipped. Which one following must be true about Freedom's schedule of voyages? Okay, if it must be true, then it's got to be true for all of my diagrams. Sound good? So Freedom makes a voyage to G either in week 1 or 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Here though, could I avoid it? Could I have M, T? Ooh, I don't know if I could actually. I might have to have a G in there. Anyways, G does go here. G, yeah, it does. It seems like it has to go in 1 or 2. Okay, so maybe that's the answer. I'm not super confident though because I haven't proven it here or here. Can I come up with a counterexample? Oh, wait. I could do M, G, M, and then T. If I do T, M, G, M, then I don't have to have G in 1 or 2. I just need one counterexample, and then that answer is wrong. Okay, it doesn't have to be true. Okay, answer choice B. M is in either 2 or 3. Nope, not here. Okay, that's my one counterexample, so that's out. C. Freedom makes at most 2 voyages to G. Could we have more than one G? It seems like we could. We could do G, M, G, M, G, right? So that's 3 Gs. So that's out. D. Freedom makes at most 2 voyages to J. Now that kind of makes sense. We could try to prove that. But if you have 2 J's, then you're going to have 2 G's, which seems doable. But what about 3 J's? Could you make more than 2 voyages to J? If you go to J 3 times, that means you got to go to G 3 times. That's 6. And then I need a T, and I still need my 2 M's. There's just not enough slots. You guys cool with that? So that's not going to work because you'd have too many variables. Okay, so D is the answer. E, really quick. Freedom makes at most 2 voyages to T. Could I fit in more T's? Maybe TMT. Yeah, TMT. And then I have a third T at the end. Okay. Anyways, the answer is D for question 17. Let's go back to question 12. That's the one I skipped because it started with which. Which one of the following cannot be true about freedom's schedule of voyages? Okay, if it can't be true, then that means it can never happen. So if I see it happening once, it's wrong, right? Freedom makes a voyage to Trinidad in week 6. Well, that's actually, that's something we already figured out. We figured out that T can't go in 6 because T is in 7. So that cannot be true. That's the answer. I'm pretty dang confident about that one, so I'm just not even going to check the rest. Does anyone have any questions about B, C, D, or E? Okay, questions about this game? Anything? Questions about games in general?
Where can I find, do you have additional videos of how to create the worlds?
I think there's a class on worlds. Maybe Abigail is one of those free, maybe?
Yeah, I posted some links in the chat, but they may have gotten buried, so I'll post them again.
Okay, cool. Divya.
Thank you.
Okay, I feel like for this question, like I created one world and then I felt like it was taking longer than it was going to. So I just went to the questions and like for each question, I created a world based off of like the rule.
Yes.
And I felt like that helped me. So do you necessarily like for some games, would it be okay to like maybe not create the worlds at the beginning and do it based off of the rules that they give you in each question? And then for some of them, like you do it all at the beginning.
Absolutely. So you don't have to do worlds.
Okay.
You don't have to. And in fact, I think there's another video of me doing this game and probably Nathan doing this game without worlds. So try them both out and see what works for you. That said, it's a good practice to try to do this game without worlds and then try to do it again with worlds. Just create game flexibility, right? You're like, yeah, I can do a layup with my left hand and I can do a layup with my right hand, no problem. So whatever scenario you're kind of thrown at, you get comfortable and see how they work. This, I wish I would have done these over here because it wouldn't have been as messy. And I think if they were all in a row, it'd be easier to just look down and be like, okay, can this go in slot 5? So unfortunately, this wasn't the best representation of worlds, but it's still a good skill to practice both and see how they work, you know, because it is a totally different mindset. And in that case, were you doing the if questions first?
Yeah, I actually went in order. Okay. Which maybe I should have done the if questions first, but I just like went in order.
In this game, it wasn't that big a deal because there was only one question that we did out of order, question 12, right? But in some games, like half of the questions are if, half the questions aren't. And if you do the if ones first, then you're creating that example diagram that you can use to eliminate answers in other questions. Like if they ask you what must be true and one of your sample diagrams doesn't have that, then you're like, well, no, I mean, it didn't have to be true in question 13, so I can get rid of answers. It doesn't necessarily give you the answer, but at least you can use it to eliminate.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Cool. Any other questions on this game or games in general? Okay. All right. Thank you guys for bearing with me. Yasmin, go for it.
Hi, sorry.
No,
I was wondering if you could go over question 17 again, or maybe I could wait till the end of class.
Yeah. You know what? Just to save time, let's do it. Let's go back to it at the end of class. Sound good?
Okay.
Yep.
No problem.
Cool. Nathan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Don't let me forget, by the way.
Yeah, hey Ben. I was just I was wondering if we could by chance go over, I know that, you know, it's not really on the itinerary for today, but if we could go over a game that involves the circle/slash method that was used to describe grouping games a little bit. I've been having some trouble with that.
Yeah.
If that can wait like until the end too, or if if we want to go through one now, that'd be great. But if at some point we could, that'd be much appreciated.
Cool. Well, Abigail, do we have a whole class on that? Because that would probably be the best thing. That's free. Circle Slash.
We do have a boot camp, but it's only for premium and live. It's in the lessons, but I'll
okay. Nathan, are you free? You're free tier?
No, so I did go over, like, I'm familiar with the one that she's talking about.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, like I've done that boot camp, but I just kind of wanted to go over one more. If we don't have time, that's okay. I'm just wondering if we could.
Sure.
We could do that.
Okay, great.
Just like one example, like one game.
Yeah. We probably won't have time, but we can talk afterward. So, cool. Martha.
I have a question for the live classes. For live classes, do you always post what you guys are gonna go over, like today for the syllabus?
Yes, you can see. You can look at the syllabus before you attend the class. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Cool. Alrighty. Thank you, everyone.